Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kirbside Podcast. I am your host, Jay Kirby, joined as always my lovely co-host, the master of the macabre, the Scream Queen B, Britt.
We're back. Hello, 2021.
And joining us tonight, a close personal friend of the show, a great mentor to a lot of wrestlers that I know personally, the great, brutal Bob Evans.
What's up, guys? How are you?
Thank you for joining us, Bob. Thanks for coming on the show.
I almost answered a little be faster when you said the lovely co-host. I was going to raise my hand, but
Bob Evans, down on the farm.
there you go. No relation. Sorry.
Darn, I was going to say, best breakfast ever.
He's been hoping for those royalty checks.
Well, I will tell you, sometimes for fun, I go and I retweet. I do just a search for Bob Evans, and it's 99% for the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put my name in there and think about me as a human being, some of those are quite salacious, those comments. So, so I usually don't do the salacious ones because I want it to be more fun than crazy. But if I retweeted all of them, I would have an exciting life. Let me tell you that much. So
would it be more exciting than the Wendy's Twitter account?
Well, I don't know. It would definitely be more unofficial. That's for sure. So.
Fair enough.
Whoever does Wendy's Twitter game needs a raise.
Yes,
mm-hmm.
Agreed.
We're a little laggy here, but it's not too bad.
Yeah, but the wrestle lifestyle.
Yep, the wrestlelife.com. And what it is it's a website that pretty much deals with a lot of issues that have been brought up to me over the past 5 years. When I've been doing all this traveling, I learned traveling way later in life than I should have, guys. I've been around 29 years, and I really should have been traveling a lot sooner than I did. But when I started traveling, I realized that most of the guys and girls that I'm training aren't necessarily, even though they say, hey, I'd love to be in WWE, I'd love to be in AEW, some of these big promotions, really, I'd say about 90% of them aren't really interested in getting there or doing what it takes to get there. And by saying that, I don't mean that they're settling or they don't have the drive or determination. A lot of the people I work with have great jobs, or they're in college, or they have relationships that they don't want to sacrifice, and they have a lot of good other things happen in their life. So, and this business is kind of funny, even though I really hesitate to say that wrestling is different from anything else. I can say that it's like any other big passion that takes over. That's why I call it the wrestle life, because it's not wrestling, it's not life, it's the wrestle life. Once this business gets a hold of you, it's in your DNA. So I've decided that I was going to start really reaching out to people who don't necessarily want to do this full time or do it for a living. And how I do that is I teach them how to travel more effectively. I teach them how to make more money on the road, how to save more money on the road. If they're just going to concentrate on just being a weekend warrior and wrestling locally, I teach them how to make more money at shows when they're there. And really, I've kind of dubbed it the website, the community that teaches people how not to get yelled at by their family when they're out wrestling and they come home, because that's and I'm not even blaming the family for that. Sometimes we get a little skewed in our priorities. You got to get your priorities in order. It's going to help you to keep everything in balance, because it's actually going to help you make more money. Once you put wrestling on the right side of the column and you make it, wrestling becomes more fun, much more lucrative, and way more organized, and way more, you'll be able to have the answers for those idiots at work to say, hey man, don't you make any money at this? And your parents or your wife, you'll have answers for them. And you'll say, yeah, I do it part-time, but I make a pretty good side hustle living at it. And by the way, I still have health insurance. I didn't quit my job. I'm still at the kids' baseball games and dance, ballet, and, all that stuff. I don't skip all that stuff. And you just kind of you put wrestling in its proper place. And that doesn't mean you can't do it like a full-time schedule. You can, but I'm saying put it next to you and make it a second full-time job, rather than just sacrifice everything and be a broke indie wrestler. Because for the longest time, the narrative was that if you were an indie wrestler, you had to just starve for the art, and you had to be a bum, and you had to turn away from your family, or you had to be dirty or scummy or whatever, or you just had to be a guy who was a mark and a fool and didn't know what he was doing and got taken advantage of. I think all that stuff is just a myth and a narrative perpetuated by people who didn't really put a lot of thought into this. So I'm just teaching people how to think differently and get their minds right. And whatever you want to do in wrestling, if you want to be a wrestler, a referee, if you want to do a podcast, if you want to do, web development, if you want to sell merchandise, whatever you do for wrestling, any piece you do, the Wrestle Life kind of gets in there, because really it's a sales and marketing website that teaches you how to, again, leverage the business. So now it's in your favor instead of it's a strength instead of a weakness.
Right. Wow.
No, that actually is perfect especially for my personal situation, because outside of this wonderful little podcast that could, I have, as I stole from you, a Clark Kent job.
Yep.
I have the day-to-day job I've been doing for 10 years, and they don't exactly let me go travel all over the world at just a whim. So I can't take unfortunately, I can't take crazy bookings. I can't hop in a car and go to Canada sometimes, as much as I really want to. I would love to wrestle in Canada. I've heard some fun stories from traveling with Bob and Tough Guy Inc. up to the Great White North.
Oh yeah.
But like that whole ideal that you just commented is almost perfect for someone like me who's got the Clark Kent job, wants and is like very dedicated to wrestling, loves wrestling, but doesn't always have the same amount of time as some of these guys that are doing tryouts every so many months or trying to get promoted at bigger companies clear across the country, or like you said, the starving artist who packed up everything and moved somewhere to get noticed.
Well, there's nothing wrong with going to get noticed, and there's nothing wrong with.
Oh, definitely not.
There's nothing wrong with going to leverage a trip. Again, I know there's been a big debate online over working for free versus not working for free, and to me, you should be much more worried about, instead of worrying about money, because the $10 or $20 you're getting isn't going to change your life either way. The value for value exchange should be what's going to change your life. There's a story that Larry the Cable Guy tells where he was a last minute replacement on Jeff Foxworthy's tour. And Jeff said, look, I can fly you out here, but I can't pay you because they won't clear a budget for me to pay you. And Larry said, I'll be on the next flight. And that's where my opinion is. My opinion is I try to help you travel. And I try to help you, especially you, Kirby, like where you're telling me that you don't have a lot of time, right? I don't know specifically what your situation is, but if you don't have a lot of time, that's fine. But I would help you leverage that and say, how much time do you have?
Right.
Let's make that work for you. If you can only get away, do you work an 8 to 5 or 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, or is it 9 to 4, or is it another?
A little bit longer hours. It's normally about a 7 to 4, 7 to 5 kind of day, but it's normally all 5 days a week. I'm lucky if I get a Friday.
Okay, so but pretty much Monday.
Yeah, Monday through
so
Friday.
We have to find a way. I got you. So we got to find a way to get you. You can go from 5:01 p.m. If you really wanted to till 6:59 a.m. on Monday. Now that doesn't mean we use all that time, but we have to look at that and say, okay, we have that many hours. Where can we go?
Right.
And now we have to look at plane tickets.
Right.
And if it's something where you have to fly yourself somewhere to get an opportunity, then you have to figure out a way to save money on those plane tickets and make enough money to afford those plane tickets. So, and again, even if you're just doing it because, hey, I want to go wrestle or I want to go do something, and I've never been to Tennessee before and I just want to go to Tennessee, but I can't drive 17 hours to Tennessee. I don't have that time in my schedule. You might have to fly, but you know what? A flight to Tennessee is $200. It's not 6,000. So, and I'm sure you and I could go to a bar. I won't put Miss Britt in this because I don't want to besmirch your good name, but I know you and I could go in a bar without even drinking too much, have a beer apiece and you and I could down those chicken wings and quesadillas, and we could spend $200, no problem. So
You're not wrong.
I'm actually hating you guys for bringing up
right,
chicken
so
wings and chicken quesadillas right now. I'm Catholic. We just started Lent, so.
Well, all right. So veggie.
No, I'm like
vegan
chicken
wings,
wing.
vegan wings, and
mozzarella
No.
sticks. There we go.
There you
No, do not besmirch the chicken wing.
yes.
Where Marty Squirrel would be pissed.
Well, I don't want to get anyone upset. So let's. We don't want to ruin anybody's Catholicism today. That's not what we're in the job of doing.
It's all good. I'm just yanking your chain, my friend.
It's all good. I appreciate it. All in good fun. So, but yeah, I would say that you and I could easily waste $200 quite well and not get anything out of it except, have a couple of laughs, have a good time. But if you're going to spend $200 and you have a plane ticket, I don't see why that's a problem. As long as you're taking care of your responsibilities, you're paying your bills, who cares what you spend your money on? And eventually, now I don't want you to just fly yourself out there willy-nilly for no reason and get taken advantage of.
Right.
But if you go out there once and then they go, hey, all of a sudden it's great. Or you meet somebody else and you chain a few shows together. And hey, man, next time you're in town, we run Friday and these guys run Saturday. And I know somebody that runs Sunday. And maybe you don't make $100 a shop, and maybe you make $50 a shop, but that's times 3. Crash on somebody's couch. You're living the life now. I teach you. I'm a guy who's do the drives and all that. So I teach people to drive, get out there. But you can do this business a bunch of different ways. And the whole thing is to make it work for you. Figure it out. I help you save between 5 and 18% on flights. You don't have to have any specific knowledge. This isn't a sales pitch. But I'm just saying I can tell you how to do it right. I'll tell you how to do it right now. There's a site called cardyard.uk.
Take that down because I'm going to forget.
And they sell a lot of Amazon US on gift cards. Go on Amazon.com, buy a Southwest gift card, and you'll save 18% right there. And you know what? I had to find that out for myself. But you know what? There's a lot of gift cards at Raise.com, Cardbear.com. You can save 8 to 10% on Southwest gift cards, on Delta gift cards, on all this stuff. See something? I gave that to you right now. But there's a bunch of different ways you can do that. I teach people to sleep in nice beds and good hotels with no mice or rats or anything. Nice. There's no stories of these crappy, dirty hotels. They're nice places. So, and I'm just not interested. I'm an older guy now. I'm 48 years old. I don't want to play around. I want to stay in nice places that make my back feel good when I wake up, and I want to stay in good places that give you customer service and they don't look at you like you broke into the place when you show up to pay. So, you have a free breakfast in the morning and things like that. There's hotels you can do that for between $60 and $90. You got to look around. You got to shop. It's going to take you a little bit of time, but so what? And if you have strength in numbers where you travel with 3 or 4 people, now you're talking about spending an extra $5 for a hotel room a piece to sleep in a nice bed. Yeah. So you got to put a little thought into it. But once you put a little thought into it, and you kind of piece it all together, now traveling isn't as scary. Plus, now you have a bunch of people to ride with you. So now you can keep the car moving. All you have to do is really stop for gas and an occasional bite to eat, but you can keep the car moving so you don't really lose any time. And that's kind of how you do it. And you get in and get out. And sometimes it's just going to be like, man, I'm just going to beat the hell out of myself for a weekend and go drive 10 hours somewhere and 10 hours back. And it's just going to be a sacrifice. But you don't have to do that all the time. Look, if you could jump on a JetBlue flight for $49, do it. I don't have a problem with that, and again, it's all building up, it's kind of just leveraging time and the money that you have to work and try to make more money at it. But again, you also have to do the marketing in too. You have to talk about the show. You have to share the show. You have to tell people you were at the show. You have to let people know that you were there and you're traveling. And,
right.
The one thing that frustrates me, and granted, it is an effort. So I'm not mad at people I'm not mad at people who make an effort, but it's really kind of like step 1 is when they go now available for bookings. Well, so what? I know, me too. You guys are too. So what? Like, don't tell me you're available for bookings. Unless you tell me you're not available for bookings, I'm going to assume that you're available for bookings. So That's fine. But tell me where you want to wrestle. Don't say tag a promoter in Georgia. Because if I'm a promoter in Georgia, you think I want some guy I've never heard of bothering me with a bunch of notifications on my Facebook? Now you're invading their space. Why don't you say, hey, I did some homework. I have a few leads, but can anybody PM me some different promotions, or can somebody, without tagging them, mention some promotions that I could possibly reach out to? But
right, like down in this certain area or something.
Right. But that way you're doing it without infringing on anybody. And it doesn't look like you're leveraging. There's nothing wrong with having people help people delegate things, have people help you. I'm all about that, man. Serve people. You know, this is a service industry. I got no problem with that. But you got to do a lot of the work yourself.
Right.
So that's where I'm on that. So, and you just got to keep, and you got to be, man, it's just a question of, you can't just put your sign on the door and expect people to show up and say, man, I can't wait. You know, all these people are going to call me. Look, I'm more famous than most of the people watching this. No one calls me either. I call everybody, and it's fine. I don't mind. That's the way it is. I know people like me. I like other people, and I know you guys have a ton of friends and a ton of people in wrestling, and you have 5,000 friends and you talk to 3 of them. So we're all the same. So you can't always reach out to people, and you're not always reminded by people. And the money's really the riches are in the follow-up, man. They really are. So once you message somebody, you got to reach out to them again in a week and say, hey, did you get a chance to see my notes or whatever? I'm not a big fan of sending footage right away, because that's an assumption. That's an assumption that you're good enough to be in my company. How dare you? So don't do that. I'd send a note that says, I'm really interested in working for you. And by the way, you better have a reason why you want to work for me. If you don't know who my champion is, you don't know anybody who wrestles for me, then I'm going to assume it's just a cut and paste form letter that you copied to 50 other people. I'm not interested. Moving on. Goodbye. So you better have something interesting that kind of triggers their brain and says, oh, he knows this guy. Okay. He knows Kirby. Oh yeah. I talked to Kirby and he said, you're a great place to wrestle for. And he went to the show last March and he had a blast and this and that. Like, be a little bit more thoughtful, put a little more work into it. And then once you do that, if they don't get back to you, follow up. Hey, did you get a chance? And I'm Kirby's friend. I wrote, and they still don't get back to you. You go, and what I always tell them, they go, how do I get promoters to know to get me off red? I'm always left on red. I said, don't ask to be on shows anymore. Tell them you're going to be at their show. What do you mean? I said, if you go to a show at 3:00 and you offer to put together the ring, you think they're going to be mad? They're going to throw you out? No. Then say, I will be there at 3:00 to help set up. I will be there at whenever. Let me know when setup is. I'll be there. And then you show up and you set up. I'm not telling you have to become ring crew for the rest of your life. I'm telling you that you show them as a no name to them. You know, look, I could be the most famous guy in the world. If somebody doesn't know who I am, I'm a no name to them. I'm a big deal in Florida. Well, we're in Minnesota. I don't know who you are. Well, I'm willing to come from Florida to Minnesota to set up your ring. Great. Well, let's see, kid, you did a great job with the ring. You're a nice guy. Let's see if we can get you something. All right, a little 5-minute pre-show match or a little 5-minute something after intermission. Okay. And now you wow them. You have a great match. You do exactly what you're told. You know, you can lose in 30 seconds or win in 30 minutes or whatever they want you to do. And then you get in, get out, and you're very professional, be a great person, be a great guy or girl in the locker room, and they'll have you back. And this time they're going to pay you. But you can't, again, Sam's Club, Costco, they all have it down. Netflix has it down. You got to give people a sample of the product first. Oh, I'm not going to roll out of bed for anything less than 100. Well, be prepared to stay in bed a long time because they ain't going to pay for you. If they don't pay their own people that much, why do you think they're going to pay you that? Show me where you're going to make me 100, and maybe I'll listen to you. But you can't just say I'm really good. Plenty of people are really good. You guys are good. I'm good. I know 1,000 wrestlers that are really good. So what? Again, you have to kind of be in the promoter's shoes. If somebody sent you that message, would you care? No, I wouldn't care. Of course you wouldn't care because you don't know. If it's someone that you didn't know, and they sent you that message, would you care? No. Well, why would you think they care about you? Because you're your own biggest fan? Well, be your own biggest critic too. Look.
Maybe 2.5 years ago, I know a guy who works down in Texas. I was going to be in Texas for 6 weeks for work. So I messaged him and I was like, hey, I'm in the Dallas area. What places can I, are running or can I hit up? And he gave me 1 or 2 names. I messaged him, hey, so-and-so told me about your show. I'm in the area. Would you, what time's the show? Can you give me a chance? And one of the places they said, yep, we've got an opening. They gave me, 5-6 minute match as the opener. They were impressed and they said, hey, we've got a show next week in Dallas. Can you be there? Yep, I'll be there. And they even paid me that time.
That's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't show up and you say, well, I should be paid and, know your worth and all this stuff. Yeah, but what were you worth to that guy before he knew you? He didn't know you.
Exactly.
Again, I'm not talking about your worth as a human being. I'm talking about your worth as a product.
Right.
Your worth as a product is not, I don't know what it is. You hand me a snow shovel and it's 75 degrees in the summertime. What am I supposed to do with this? But if I show you what I'm driving in right now, a snow shovel would really come in handy right now. So, but, and if you don't tell me what the snow shovel is or what it does, or show me better yet, show me what the snow shovel does, then now I might actually buy the snow shovel from you. So why is it any different? I sounds like I'm screaming and yelling. I'm not frustrated. I'm fascinated by people not knowing this, or people are expecting other people who don't know who they are to say, well, I'm going to put this on Facebook and they're going to love me. Facebook is the beginning of the process.
Right.
Facebook is the absolute, if you guys know anything about sales funnel, Facebook is this top of the sales funnel. It's not the bottom. The bottom is your ideal customer. Well, you telling people to come check you out on Facebook is cool, but it's not, all it is a call for attention. All it is if you're in a big convention and someone's at your table and they come over and they say hello to you and shake your hand. That's all it is. You haven't sold them anything. They haven't bought anything from you. That's all it is.
They're just acknowledging.
They're just acknowledging. They like it. They share it, whatever. That's great. And that's definitely a plus. But if you're not getting bookings out of it, you have to look at it. You can't be like, wow, these promoters, they're all jerks. They're not booking me when I'm saying I'm available for WrestleMania. It's like, don't you think those promoters have stuff to do during WrestleMania where, well, I wonder what indie guys and girls have posted on Facebook today. So I'm really going to start taking those people into consideration. That's not realistic. That's right. And it's not life. Have you ever gotten a job that way? Now available for a job. Now available for retail. That's not really much of anything. That would be like if I emailed Monster and said, yeah, I'm available for work now. Bye. That's not anything. You have to be a lot more specific, and you have to figure out what you want, how you want to do it, how to travel, how you can afford it, how to budget for it, and how to finally figure out how to make money and not pull it out of the household budget. Are either one of you married or in serious relationships where you have to share a budget, or?
Divorce.
Okay.
Same.
Dating that guy right there.
So.
Each other though.
Yes. Yes. Serious relationship, yes. Budget, no.
Nope.
Okay. Well, but you guys have been involved in that stuff before. So once you get together, look, I'll use myself because I don't want to make you guys uncomfortable. But when that's true. But I had to man up a couple of years ago. I quit my full-time job to do wrestling in April of 2018. And I lasted, and after 26 years experience and being really smart, I managed to screw it all up almost immediately. And as soon as I started wrestling for a job, I hated it. I was like, I just have another job now. I'm just better at it, and I like it a little bit better. But it's not fun. Not only did I just go to one job to another one, but I made the fun thing I do in my life that keeps me away from my job now. So I made that even worse. So I really, and what happened was I didn't jump into it like I should have. I didn't do all the things that I recommend. And my finances started to go down, and then I started gambling again. I had been a year clean from gambling, and then I got back into it again. And I just celebrated my last bet was a couple years ago, February 13th, 2019. But I had to sit down and I had to say, wait a minute, I don't function well when I wrestle full time. And guys, I've been doing this wrestle life stuff like crazy lately. And I've been working at it like a full-time job. But if I work 100 hours a week on it, I'm going to call it my side hustle, because
Right.
I'm just not going to frame it in my life that way anymore. And I needed the structure of a real job. And I had to start honoring my family. I was way too selfish. I was doing wrestling just for me. And that doesn't mean that, we have to start, winning the tag belts with our wife, or, putting our kids out there as managers. What it means is we have to take them into consideration when we make these decisions. And
Absolutely.
I was not really doing that. And I was kind of blowing off. I wasn't blowing off work, but I wasn't handling it well. But once I started working full time again, all of a sudden wrestling went back up again. Wrestling got put back in its proper place.
Right.
And I was working again, and I made more money last year than I've ever made. And the wrestle life stuff just started to fall into place, where I said, there's got to be more people like me. And then ended up, and I knew there were a lot more people like me, because I had talked to them, but I ignored them. And I kept trying to push them and saying, man, you just, maybe you just don't want it bad enough. And I kind of I wasn't giving them bad advice. I just wasn't giving them good enough advice. And the good enough advice is, you can wrestle 50, 60 times a year, which is as much as anybody in AEW does, anybody in Ring of Honor, anybody in Impact. And you can have a full-time job that you like, and that gives you health insurance and 401k and all that. And now all of a sudden wrestling there's way less pressure. And that doesn't mean don't take it seriously. It just means there's way less pressure. You're not feeling stressed to just always do it for money, because we didn't get into this to do it for money anyway. And when we stop, it's weird, because it's counterintuitive. Once you stop doing it for money, but you do it the right way, you'll make more money. And that's what I felt like I lost my way. And now I'm back. And that's why the Wrestle Life is here, to kind of reinforce that stuff I was doing in 2015, 2016, 2017, really making a name for myself and just serving this market unbelievably well. And then when I started doing it kind of for money, not that I was doing a bad job, but I wasn't doing my best job. So that's where we are. So now I teach people to make wrestling. If you want to do it full time, I can teach you how to do that super well. And if you want to do it part time, just as a side hustle, a couple times a month or a bunch of times a month, I teach you to do it where you keep your job, keep your family, and keep everybody happy as best as you can. There's going to be sacrifices always, but the sacrifices don't have to be that strong, and the sacrifices don't have to be that much. And that's where I am. I'm sick of the narrative that we have to be broke, or we have to be at WrestleMania winning the belt, and there's no in between. But the problem is we're ignoring 99% of our audience if we say there's no in between. Because I haven't met too many bums, and I haven't met too many like Brock Lesnar's, So we have to kind of put wrestling where it enriches us, and it's a cool thing to talk about, and it's a cool, interesting thing that we do that can be a good conversation piece. It can help us in our real life. It can help us in our job. It's a good icebreaker in job interviews. It really helps with our self-confidence, but we don't have to give our life over to it. We can give wrestling to our life to add to our life.
So in layman's terms, you help with teaching a balance, so to speak, between the wrestle life and I guess the, I don't want to call it like the real life, but in a sense, the real life.
Well, yeah, because we have to realize that, and I'll use my wife for an example. My wife is, I've been married to my wife twice. So I've done the divorce thing and the remarriage thing. So we have quite a history, my wife and I, but now we've been married together for 16 years. I have a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old. We're great. But I had to look at it and I had to say, this dream is not my family's dream. So how do I translate this and communicate this to them? My wife has always known that I've done wrestling, but all I've done is just amass credit card debt and have gambling problems over it. And she still wasn't unsupportive of it because she saw a lot of the good I was doing too, but she also knew that it wasn't helping me. So once I figured out that, I said, I don't have to take every booking. So one of those things where you just have to realize that do wrestling for you. And if you have to skip a booking that you're not crazy about, but, it's going to be a big opportunity and somebody might be there that can change my life. Well, they'll probably be there in another month. They'll probably be there in another couple of weeks, And if it's that important, then cancel something else earlier in the month and do that one, whatever you have to do. But again, if you start kind of pissing away all the real life stuff then it's going to be the whole, like, It's a Wonderful Life thing and all these movies where it's people, you know, the cat in the cradle and all this stuff. It's going to be all this stuff that's going to come back to you. And I just don't feel like we have to live our lives like that. And again, you can have a very, and again, I teach a lot of this stuff in the course. We're going to have in-ring stuff too, obviously, but the in-ring stuff is kind of limited right now because I don't really have a ring to train in. So, because everything's shut down, but I mean, we teach you classes again, how to travel, how to make money, how to figure out who you are as a wrestler, try to figure out how to wrestle that way, how to ask for more money, how to negotiate with promoters, how to get more work. I mean, it's stuff that isn't really taught very well. And the stuff that, how to travel better, how to travel and never lose your gear. That's a good one. You know, bring it with you. I'll tell you right now, bring it on your carry-on. You know, that was one of the first lessons I learned in wrestling. Gear, you don't put in your luggage, because what if your luggage gets lost? You know, well, I don't want to carry a big heavy backpack. Well, carry one, because it sure beats the alternative.
Exactly.
So, I mean, yes,
okay.
ma'am.
I was going to say, or a lot of airlines now, because I'm actually getting ready to fly here in a couple weeks myself. Carry on in a, if you have like any kind of like carry bag, like a big shoulder bag, like a big messenger bag. That's another. I always pack an extra outfit in that bag just in case something were to happen.
Just in case.
I don't even check bags anymore.
I've traveled with my gear before flying, and I have it in a suitcase, probably about yay big. Just about everything up until last February when I had a big, stone cold knee brace I have to add to it. Before that, everything fit in one bag that could easily go in the little stow-ahead areas.
And that's what you have to do. I mean, that's one of the first things you learn. And I mean, I don't even know if I teach that in the class. I'm just offering that up as a little nugget for you guys. And it's good that you guys know it, but believe it or not, a lot of people don't. And these are one of the things, it's like, again, like, have you got, map out your trip. There's people that just drive somewhere and they go, well, we'll just drive somewhere and we'll figure it out as we go. I'm like, map out your trip. Figure out how much trans is going to be. Well, you throw in $20 here and I throw in. No, get your trans ahead of time. Get your travel money ahead of time. It's $200. We divide it 4 ways, 50, 50, 50. And now I have money. Now you don't have to put all that money on your credit card. Now you can use your debit card, pay off, the hotel and all this, whatever it is. And look, if people aren't going to give you $50 to travel for 3 days, then maybe they shouldn't be the people we're traveling with,
Right.
And pick your people well. And if you can't drive, I know people that don't have a license for various reasons. And if you don't have a license, you're probably going to have to pay an extra 25%, another 20, $30 on top of that 50, because that to me, that's us. And you're going to have to pay a little more, or you should do it just to be a good person and say, I'm sorry, I screwed up and got drunk and drove drunk and lost my license, guys. So now you guys have to carry my ass, and here we go, And I'm not saying that's why it's always, people get their license suspended for not paying their registration or excise tax or whatever. So it doesn't, and it can just be for whatever reason, too many speeding tickets, or it happens, I've been there.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, but it's also a reality that we have to tackle. And it's another thing that a little bit of, we again, in the site, we teach you how to communicate better. We have Kevin Kelly in there. Kevin Kelly from WWE, Ring of Honor, New Japan. Kevin teaches spoken word classes where he teaches guys how to cut promos. Well, half the guys you see on NXT, half the guys you see on Ring of Honor are guys that were taught by Kevin. Kevin's probably the biggest unsung promo coach in the last 10 years that not enough people know about. And he teaches people an easy system, how to do promos better. And no, he's not going to turn you into Ric Flair overnight, but he's certainly going to make you 2, 3, 5 times better than you already were. And you'll be able to tell people what your match is about and what you're doing and where you're going to be and communicate. He's also going to, right now we don't have that class in there, but coming soon, he's going to teach you how to be a better announcer, teach you how to be a better podcaster, teach you how to be a better, ask for ask for the work better, communicate with promoters better. I mean, I have a nice little piece in there, but Kevin gives his opinion, and you know, it's Kevin's been around just as long as I have, but he's had some different experiences. So it's always good to have another educated person in there kind of giving their opinion. And again, we have classes on how to buy gear. We have classes on how to measure for gear, we have Congo, my buddy Wildman Congo and I have a couple up on YouTube for free, but we have a podcast in there where it's a watch along, where we watch a match from the big guys, and then we translate it and analyze it for young wrestlers and say, this is what they were trying to do. This is what you can do in your match. Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior, you can clearly see that Hulk Hogan is 20 times the worker Ultimate Warrior is. Well, these are the things that you have to do when you're 20 times the worker someone is, because you got to get them over and you don't have an excuse. You have to go do it. So we translate that. We show Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, and Christopher Daniels. And we say, if you want to put a multi-man match together and have it make sense where Jim Cornette won't yell at you, this is the one, because Jim Cornette, you know, and I'm lucky because Jim Cornette is a friend of mine and he don't yell at me. I'm friends with Jim Cornette and Vince Russo. I don't know how I managed to pull that one off, but it's, again, we translate that for you. We watch it along with you. You watch it with us. And it's like two veteran guys kind of showing you what's up. This is what's going on. Look how they take their time. Look what they're doing. You know, I have an hour and a half interview with, we talked about Canada before, Kirby. You know, I have an hour and a half interview with Eric Wimay, also known as Oz. Well, Oz has 600-700 people at every show he does in Montreal, turns 200 people away. And if I'm a promoter, I want to know what he's doing. Right. Well, how come I'm the one that's asking and I don't even run shows? But I also noticed that since I've been listening to these guys, the last 10 shows that I've run over the past 5 or 6 years, guys, have all made money. So obviously I'm listening to them by accident or on purpose. I'm not really sure. And I'm learning how to make my stuff more financially secure. And I've reached out to 5 promoters as part of my promoter, because I'm going to have a promoter rescue, Brutal Bob's promoter rescue. And we have 5 promoters that we're working with right now. And my goal is to double, triple, or quadruple their numbers by the end of 2021, excuse me. So, and it's going to be in a pandemic. So it's going to be super hard, but so what? Try it anyway. You know, so we're doing a lot of workshops in there. We're doing a lot of classes. I have my 4-hour blueprint in there, which is a 6-part class that teaches you a lot of this stuff. We go a lot deeper than we can go today because we don't have that kind of time. But and I lay it out for you. I lay it all out for you. Here, if you want to be a full-time wrestler and make money in wrestling, here you go. If you want to be a part-timer, here you go. If you want your wife not to hate you for wrestling, here you go. And I literally put down my notes and I talk from the heart for 20 minutes and tell you exactly what you're doing. I did it all off the cuff. So it's not pretty. There's a few stutters and ums and ahs in there, and it's not edited to the T, but it's an older guy talking from the heart that finally figured out a way to honor his family and make it work for him. And it's an important class that people need to be listening to and need to be teaching. So, so really it's a big balance. It's a big balancing game. It's a big plate spinning game, but I think it's worth it because this business is so cool. Guys, I was so tired before I got on with you, and now I'm just screaming and yelling and ready to jump out of the car. Like, this business I have such a passion for this business, and I love it so much, but my heart breaks for people who are just doing it and either getting made fun of or getting beating themselves up because they can't find a way to make money at it. And I just I don't want people to have that life anymore. I want people to have a life of abundance. I want people to have a life where wrestling, you're coming home with a car payment. You're coming home with a house payment, even if it's just pizza money. Well, we used to lose $100 going out there. And now we made $28. We can buy pizza. Great. You know, what's wrong with that? At least pizza didn't come out of the family budget. And at least $100 didn't come out of the family budget. Hey, you don't think your wife's going to be proud of you for that? Especially if you've been losing money? And that's a step in the right direction. So I've had people that have made $800 and I've had people that have made $6. And they both were crying to me because they'd never managed to turn a profit. So it's a wonderful thing when you can make it work, and it's really not that hard. All you have to do is change your thinking, move a few things around on the chessboard, and you'll get it.
Right. Whew. Wow.
You haven't said anything. I've yelled at you guys enough. Now you guys yell at me about something.
Oh man, I'm just sitting here in awe because all of this fantastic
man.
knowledge.
What a great business we're in. Isn't this a great business?
Absolutely. I've been, I have to say it's been hard on me personally this past 2020 because I got hurt back in I got hurt December of 2019, and then I had surgery in February 2020. So I was sitting, doing my rehab, doing all this work, and I'm like, okay, when can I get back? When can I get back? Focused on when I can get back. And then the world stopped turning and, bookings dried up and places stopped running. So now, the Clark Kent job isn't letting people be out in like big crowds because of the risk of exposure. So I'm just sitting here pacing back and forth, waiting for the green light because I want to get out there. I'd love to, I've been messaging companies that are in PA and Delaware trying to get something ready for as soon as I get that green light, I'm going.
Well, good. I'm glad. Sean Hardy, if you're listening, my man, Kirby, I want you to try to get him to Delaware. Let's see if we can get him a match in Delaware. He's a good boy. Delaware's fun. PA, there's plenty of people in PA. Hit up Danny at the Monster Factory. That'll be a good place to get back and kind of get serious about training again if that's something you want to do. But there's plenty of rings. Hit up Preacher in New Jersey. Get back and get your game back quick. That's all I can tell you.
Right.
When you're ready to go, I'll help you as much as I can. So, all right. So as I want to help you guys too because I promised you a little mini coaching call here. So, put you on the hot seat, both of you.
Oh,
No, it's fine. And the good news is you're not in trouble. So that's the best part. So
yay, because I get yelled at all day.
Well, I yell out of love, not hate. So at least I got that going for me.
I'm Italian, so trust me, we speak loudly.
Yeah, and I'm about as white as you can be. But I grew up with a giant Portuguese population, which is basically like Italians or Mexicans or things like that. So very expressive with their hands, yelling and screaming.
Yes.
So yeah, so we're fine. So I can speak on many levels. So, so I'll start. Whoever wants to start, but really, what are you guys struggling with? I know you just mentioned, Kirby, some struggles you had right there, but so what are you guys struggling with? What's the next step? What can I help you with? Where are you? What are we, wrestling and life and your real job? What can I help you with? This is where you guys talk.
So I guess my go-to is trying to get in the door at places because I've messaged and the hardest part is trying to find places that have that will record footage because a lot of times I'm by myself. I'm going to shows by myself, so I don't have a friend to hold my phone for me and record my match. So I have to rely on the company to put out a match, which puts me in a hot spot when I'm trying to get my foot in the door somewhere else and ask for footage. And the last footage I have is just a random, 2018. It's not even up to date. It's not even got, my most recent gear or any kind of gimmick change I have. So I guess
go ahead.
I guess my question is how can I, or what tips can you give me to fix some of those?
Have you had any like big hitters on your podcast?
I think honestly, not to toot our horn, you're the biggest we've had so far.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, so who else did you have on that you weren't sure you were going to get?
Last month, well, actually not last month, back in October, November, we had Pretty Proper, Savage Gentleman and Lady Frost. They love
those guys.
Yeah, they were fantastic. They were super nice, but I was super nervous asking them to come on the show because I figured they didn't know who we were and they wouldn't give us the time, but they did, and it was a fantastic interview.
Okay, so what happened after you asked them if they could be on the show?
Well, at first I emailed
No.
them.
You don't have to give me the whole process.
Okay.
All right, let me say it this way.
Okay.
I'm trying to ask you a question. It's the Socratic method, my man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking you questions to get you to your own answer.
Okay.
So after you asked them if they could be on your podcast, what was the result of you asking? Did they go on your podcast or did they not go on your podcast?
They did.
Okay. So in other words, you asked them if they could go on your podcast, and then what happened?
And then they showed up.
Right. So I bet that there's a nice, enterprising young man or woman, or a young man or woman wrestler or fan, or someone who helps with the ring, or a referee that would be more than happy to stand there with you, holding your phone for 10 minutes and tape your match for you, because you'll do it for them. And that's how you can say, hey, do you need me to tape your match? Because I'd really need you to tape mine, or you could just say, hey, do you mind taping my match? I'd really appreciate it. Thank you. I'll pay you if you need me to. Give them $10. Money talks. Or don't. They'll probably just do it to be a good person. And if they say, well, I don't have time, then you ask someone else. And after you've asked 10 people at the show, maybe I'll let you have that excuse. And then as far as don't worry about people having footage. You are coming back off an injury. You need to get back into the swing of things. You need to be wrestling at good places, safe places, but good places. And who cares if they they don't have a camera crew, so I can't show up. No, you should be showing up to everything you can do that's productive for you, that works within your schedule, that's reasonable, and you should be doing it. And you might have to wrestle on some shows with people you've never heard of. And I understand that's super scary. I've never realized how scary that was until I did it. And I was literally the most famous guy in the room, and I was just as scared as anybody else. So, I get nervous too. I get apprehensive. This is a new situation. I mean, not as much as I used to, but it's still, I get excited by it. So it's that nervousness doesn't bother me. Just look at it as a new experience. And also, again, maybe you have to go somewhere, introduce yourself, try out, help with the ring, try out. Hey, I can have you on my podcast. I can promote the show. Give them the benefits of what you can do. If you just say, hey, I'm an injured wrestler and I wasn't that good to begin with, and you've never heard of me, and I'm my girl's cute, but that's all I got going for me. I'm of course not speaking. I'm speaking hypothetically.
Of course.
But what I'm saying is, you have to give me a reason to buy.
Right.
If I put an Xbox in front of you, you might think that's the coolest thing in the world. If I put an Xbox in front of somebody who doesn't know what the hell an Xbox is, they'll say, "Is this some kind of new microwave oven? What is this? I don't know what this is." You again, and that's going to be a much harder sell.
Right.
But if I said sell them an Xbox, what would you tell them? You'd have to figure it out, right? So you're probably not going to have to work that hard, but you're going to have to say, this is what I can do for you. And you have to bring that to the table first, not second. I want to come wrestle for you. I don't care. Please don't ever bother me again. I don't care if you want to wrestle for me. I have enough wrestlers. I don't need you. When you talk like that to promoters, they take it personally. They feel attacked. And they feel like you're an invader to their territory. I promise you, I know, because I'm a sensitive guy and I'm a promoter. Whenever somebody said they could come in, I'll come in and I'll be the best guy on your roster, I was like, F you, you'll never wrestle here. Because how dare you? You don't even know any of my guys. My guys are all good, solid guys, and they're good wrestlers and they're good people. Who are you to say anything like that? How dare you? So you have to come in and say, I want to come in. I humbly offer to serve you. You don't have to word it like that, but if you did, why not? I have a podcast. I'm just coming off of an injury. I'd love to come just set up the ring and see what you got. Bob Evans was talking all about you. I heard a lot of great things about you, and I'd love to be a part of it, but I understand if there's no spots, but I'm going to come hang out. I'll be happy to buy a ticket if you need me to, but I'll be there to help out, whatever you need. Well, now you're just the guy who's inviting himself in to help out. You can always have that conversation during the day. When is the promoter least stressed out? Probably at 2-3 in the afternoon. So now you get that nice one-on-one introduction, instead of trying to meet them at 6 when they're running around like a madman because,
right.
because Brian Cage's flight is late and the kid that I said to pick him up is at the wrong airport or he's at the American Airlines gate and he's supposed to be at the Delta gate and I can't get a hold of him and it's a big cluster and half my card hasn't shown up yet because they're stuck in traffic. And is this really the time you want to introduce yourself and make yourself available for bookings? Like, that's not the time to do it. You show up at 2 or 3 o'clock and you say, is there something I can do that takes stress out of your life right now? First of all, he or she will pick themselves up off the ground because no wrestler in history has ever asked them that question. So that's a hint right there, aside from me. And I could work 100 shows if I wanted to. I'll work 100 shows and make more money than pretty much anybody that listens here together. And by the way, I give out more free stuff than almost anyone in the business. So don't come at me with that stuff. And that's about the only time I'm going to talk big, but I'm just saying, don't come at me with that stuff. Mm-hmm. You have to offer something. You have no value as a wrestler until they see you as a person, as a human being. And by the way, that's 80% of it. And then if you're a good hand in the ring, even better. And if you're not, and you're a good dude, even if you suck in the ring, they go, we'll help him. We'll give him another match next time with a better guy. We'll help. I swear to God, they'll bend over backwards for you. But you have to show what a quality individual you are, how much you're willing to help the company. Hey man, what a cool place. What a cool building this is. I've never seen a building run at an agricultural farming museum before. This is awesome. I've never seen something run in a Chinese restaurant before. I've wrestled in all these places, by the way. I've never seen any, in a Mexican restaurant, in a museum, in a this and a that, right next to the JFK Kennedy Museum in Boston. This is crazy. Like all these places in the middle of Chicago, in the middle of one of the most famous streets in Chicago. I'm out there in my underwear. I said, imagine if I ran out my underwear in the middle of Chicago on a regular day, I'd be arrested. But today they're cheering and booing me, Guy runs around with no shirt on and a mask at 2 o'clock on a Monday. It's a lot different scenario than the day before at the wrestling show, right? So
absolutely.
Right.
They
So
try to do it at the Super Bowl.
Right. And by the way, that crazy show with the crazy lucha show in Chicago, one of the young guys went with me and he ended up in our match and he got a couple of bucks, but it wasn't about that. He opened the door for himself. He got to wrestle there and he got to wrestle in front of 5,000 people. Mm-hmm. So, look, it's not always going to be for money. I'm sorry if that makes people mad or whatever. I just gave you a bunch of reasons how you're going to make more money, but sometimes it's not about the money. Sometimes it's about the experience. Again, it's value. It's a value added situation. It's value for value. Sometimes you're going to do it for money. Sometimes you're going to do it because your wife wants to go to somewhere and go see a cool museum or a cool park or something. And you're going to take her with you because wrestling is going to take you there and pay your trans. Like that's how it works. And then wrestling gave you that experience. So don't be mad at wrestling and don't be mad at anybody. And now your wife likes wrestling again. Mm-hmm. So that's, again, I say again a lot, I'm sorry, but
that's okay.
It's good.
It has to be a situation where we have to be a lot more, I'm trying to think of the word, but a lot more purposeful, a lot more intentional with what we do in wrestling rather than let just wrestling happen to us. Mm-hmm. I put out I messaged 5 promoters and they didn't book me. So they all hate me and they all will spit on me as soon as I walk through the door because I dared to send them a message. Chances are they probably didn't even read it. I got left on red. He hates me. No, he just didn't pay no mind. It's fine. Look, better to have no reputation than a bad one. So go in and say, I see you didn't get a chance. I'm gonna come to the show and introduce myself, and I'm gonna help set up the ring. I hope that's okay. And they're never gonna say no. Oh, we don't want you coming. We don't need an extra pair of hands. Get out of here. They'll never say that. And then what they'll say is, yeah, man, come on by. And then they'll go, he ain't showing up. And then you show up and they're like, I guess he showed up. Mm-hmm. So now you show up and you do a good job. And they try to half the time, literally, it almost works out to exactly half the time. They'll find a spot for you. And if they don't, they'll find a spot for you next time. And even if it's just you set up a ring and you met some people, well, ask around. Where else do you guys wrestle? Where else does you run shows? What else do you do? What do you do? You said yourself, it happened in Texas. Leverage your relationships without making it all about, hey, how's this guy going to help me? But there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I want to wrestle for this guy. I see you wrestle for him. Can I mention that we're friends and you've wrestled me and I'm pretty good? Yeah, that's fine. Like, it doesn't have to be, again, we're sometimes we're overthinking it. It does, networking doesn't have to be a cold calculated thing. Networking is just building relationships.
Right.
And all you're trying to do is make more friends. Make more friends to have more friends. That's it, man. And you just got to be a better friend. Hey, I want to be your friend and help set up your ring. By the way, I wrestle too. Okay, great. Come here, friend. Be my friend and help me set up the ring. I'm going to give you a match, friend. There you go. Hey, can I get paid next time? Sure. And it's $20, which is fine. But then you sell merch and you leverage your merch game, and you make a lot of money. My buddy Jack Parker in Arkansas had less than 50 paid people at a show, and he made $812 in merchandise in one night. It's on the site. I did a 20-minute interview, and it's there for free. You can read it all about it yourself. And he didn't sell Bullet Club t-shirts. He didn't sell any knockoff stuff, no parody shirts. He sold all his JPJ, Jack Parker Jr. stuff. He was just over, and he just took advantage of it. He sold $522 of his stuff that night. His wife took a $210 screen printing order, and then he sold $80. He sold 4 $20 pre-orders for shirts he hadn't even made yet.
Wow.
And that adds up to $812. Yeah. And then we're very clear to say that that's not necessarily how he does it every month, every week or every month. But
Right.
before Jack met me, he was making $100 a weekend. And now he makes $1,000 a weekend, usually between $750 and $1,000 a weekend, because he does between $150 and $300 of merchandise every damn show. And that's not his payoff. His payoff is on top of that. His payoff is a tip now. His payoff is for gas money on the way home. He forgets the envelope half the time. He's like, I laughed because you tell me, because I tell him, I said, be an envelope forgetter. And he goes, what does that mean? I go, you made so much money at your merch and all that stuff that you forgot to get your payday. And then he's like, what do you mean? I go, and then he laughed because he said a couple weeks ago, he almost forgot to, his wife had to grab it on the way out because he forgot to. I said, there you go, man. And that way now you're not putting heat on the promoter. All these promoters that keeping all the money for themselves. You got 30 people on a show and that you drew 45 paid. How much do you think you're going to get paid?
Right.
If you have 30 people on a show and you have 400 paid, how much do you think you're going to get paid? I mean, I don't know if you guys have run shows before. I've run over 100. So, and they, like I said, it's a ball buster. Insurance, building rental, ring rental. Even if you have a ring, you still got to rent a trailer, rent a truck, whatever.
Right.
You still got to pay people to set it up. I mean, you got to give them something. You got to at least buy them lunch, and then you got to pay the people at the show. And, I didn't always pay my people at the show. I did when I could, but I didn't always, but I certainly tried. And there's no money. There's no money in that. So again, we're trying to squeeze blood from a stone. I'm saying just bring another stone with you and use your own damn stone. So anyway, so as far as getting bookings, because Brett, I got to get to your question too. But as far as getting bookings, really, man, it's just a question of putting yourself out there. And I mean, old school putting yourself out there. And there's nothing wrong with messaging. But if you don't get an answer on the second or third try, you're going to that show. And I don't mean be stupid and drive 20 hours. I mean, you could drive 2. Right. Bring the girl with you, make a weekend of it, get a nice hotel, for crying out loud, take care of her. But I'm saying, make it fun. It doesn't have to be, I drove all this way. I worked for free and I'm an idiot. No, you go to the show. You're basically kind of like an enhanced fan at that point. Like you're willing to pay, but you get in for free. And then you just, you go, you help out, whatever. She could go, she could help out. She could do something. She can either set up the ring or, hey, can I help? Can I sell merchandise? Can I sell tickets? Do you trust me to handle the ticket money? Whatever. There's a couple that can take stress away from me, and they're nothing but joy when they show up. You don't think they're going to book you again? My Lord, you'll be booked everywhere.
Right.
The people that I try to bring people joy everywhere I go. That's why I can work 150 times a year if I want to. But before I wasn't that guy. Years ago, I was the guy that everybody had a stomachache when they showed up. I don't want that. I want people to feel happy. I finally figured out who I was, and I always wanted to be that guy. I just didn't know how.
Right.
So, all right, young Britt.
Well, wow. Just listening to you guys, I feel like I need a nap now.
I hope that's not because we're boring.
No, just a lot of high energy and, long days too. But I guess just my biggest thing is,
Are you in the business too, Britt?
Not quite.
Okay.
I do want to get in. I
You don't
do
have
want.
to.
I know this is something that Jay and I have talked about a little, quite a bit, and I think my biggest thing is, when people say that they themselves are their own worst enemy,
Right.
I myself am my own worst enemy.
Okay. In what way?
When it comes down to wanting to train, wanting to get into the ring, I am I am just like mentally, I'm terrified, because I'm more like, it makes me nervous because I do worry about, because I do work a physically demanding job.
Okay. What do you do
And
for work?
I'm an occupational therapy assistant. I work in a
Cool.
nursing home, so
Nice.
I work
I'm
with.
delivering to a nursing home soon as we speak.
Oh, real?
So,
That's awesome.
yeah, I work for Farmerica. I deliver meds. So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
So, but yeah, I take, and if anything, like, I'm worried that I'm trying to take part in this. I'm trying to learn. I want, like, trying to be safe and take care of myself, take care of whoever is training with me, whoever is working with me. Like, I guess I'm just that fear of getting hurt, I guess. And that is going to keep me from.
Well, I mean, has anyone
Okay.
ever brought up the fact that you don't have to do it if you don't want to?
Yes, Jay has brought that up to me plenty of times.
Multiple times.
Right. So don't feel like you have to live up to someone else's dreams and wishes. You can.
Right.
It can be your own. You can do it on your own terms. I mean, maybe you don't want to maybe you don't want to go in and take the bumps and do all that stuff. Maybe you want to. What are you doing with are you going to get into occupational therapy yourself? Are you going to become a therapist? Or are you going to?
Oh, I'm already a therapist. I've been working as a therapist since 2018.
Oh, okay. I thought you said you were an assistant. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. I like, there's different levels.
Educate me.
Yes. An assistant is like kind of the beginning level. So like, I'm very hands-on with patients. The next step up is, like, as a registered OTR, they do evaluations, things to that nature, to determine if anyone would need our services.
Do you want to take that? Is that your passion? Do you want to keep taking that further and further?
I've thought about it, but as of right now, it's not looking like I'm going to go up to that next level. Cause basically the way I feel about it is I like what I do right now. Like, I like being more hands-on with my patients. And if I go up to that next level, I feel like I'm not going to be as hands-on, I guess.
Now you're an administrator.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, again, if it's so, is it just a fear, or is it true apprehension?
I've always just kind of thought I've always just kind of called it like a fear, because if like anything were to happen to me,
is it yeah, I because I'm coming back here. Hold on, sorry.
Oh, no, you're good.
With my thing. There we go. It's hard for me to say, hey, get in the ring and bump around and push past it. But the biggest thing I can say to you is school that takes good care of you knows to tell you, like, hey, maybe wrestling, not the wrestling business, but maybe being a wrestler isn't your best spot.
Right.
And again, I'm not trying to insult you. I'm not saying you can't handle it. But if it's something that again, there's mental blocks, and there's also just, hey, I don't really want to do it that bad, and I'm feeling like I have to live up to somebody else's expectation. Right. Because that's kind of where I was a couple of years ago when I said, oh, I'm going to go full time because I'm a mark if I don't do full time wrestling. So, and then I almost ruined my life. So who's the mark? So
right.
That's where it's like, if you have a good life and things are going well with you, then maybe just serving the business in this capacity, podcasting, or another capacity where you're you know, you're maybe a little more behind the scenes, or, I mean, there's plenty of strong, powerful women that are in wrestling now that don't take a bump.
Right.
So it doesn't, and again, this isn't settling. It's repositioning yourself to where it makes more sense for you. It's very difficult for me, just kind of knowing you right now, to give you a complete evaluation that way. But I would say, really think about it. If it is something that you want to do, and if it is something you want to do, go find a school and go do it, because you're not getting any younger. And I don't mean you're old, but none of us, no, I don't mean that at all. I don't know how old you are, it doesn't matter.
I know what you mean.
But none of us are getting any younger, and you'll blink and 5 years will go by.
Right.
But if you truly don't want to do it, and you're feeling some sort of pressure because of some outside force, then don't listen to yourself, you know, because there's something that's telling you to do it, and there's something that's telling you not to do it. You have to figure out which voice is louder. And if it's something where it's just, I got to push this out of the way and I got to try it, then go for it, balls out, and try your absolute best. And then if you don't get it, just have a plan B. You already have a plan B in real life. So, and you have a good job, and those jobs pay fairly well, so you'll be fine that way. So just make sure your job's in order, and make sure you're not over sacrificing. And that's it, you know. And again, you know, hanging around with this bag of bones, that'll help you. You know, you guys can push each other. So, but again, if it's a question of, years ago, I would have just said, what are you doing? Just go for it, rah, rah, rah. But
right.
I don't know. Maybe because my kids are getting older and I have a daughter, and I have to be a little bit more responsible with what I say, especially to women. Because as much as we want to say men and women equality, which I agree with, men and women are different people and they have different thought processes. So me yelling and screaming at you and saying, "Oh, you're a gutless, go get," you know, you're not. You're a professional person who's doing good things. So just make sure wrestling works for you. And if you try it the first day and you go, you know, F this, I'm out, don't beat yourself up over it. It's okay. But if it's F this, I'm out, and then you're like, but I want to go back, then that's okay too. You know, but if you're going to try it, I'm going to tell you, don't try it. Don't half-ass it. Go all the way. Give it a good shot. But if you give it a good shot and it doesn't work, it's not the worst thing in the world. Just find something else to do. Be a manager, be an announcer, be a podcaster, support the bit. Look, I think people aren't taking advantage of all the other stuff that's going on in wrestling. You know, look at Conrad Thompson. He was already a millionaire, and now he makes six figures doing talk shows.
Yep.
It was all there for us. It was all there for us, and nobody took it. So a guy had to come in from another business and take it. Now he has a lot of passion for wrestling, but he also, what else does he do? He gave 5 people who didn't have jobs in wrestling again. He gave people their wrestling lives back. You know, Tony Schiavone, Eric Bischoff, Bruce Pritchard.
Love 83 weeks, by the way.
Right. Exactly. And the thing is, like, you know, we all made Eric Bischoff to be this evil son of a bitch, a-hole guy. And now you hear that he's a real person, and he has his own opinions, and he's a living, breathing person. And you're like, well, yeah, maybe he's an a-hole sometimes. And by the way, it's not 1998 Eric Bischoff anymore. It's grown-ass man, grandfather Eric Bischoff. Stuff. And where were you 25 years ago? So why, you know, and it gives you a lot of perspective. And again, older, wiser Eric Bischoff has plenty to teach the business.
Oh, so, absolutely.
Yeah. And we should be, as people in wrestling, whatever we do, we should be listening to that. Shoot, man. Just watch what Conrad did. Conrad could teach wrestlers how to be, who can I help? He hears Tony Schiavone on Ric Flair's show. I swear the first time I heard Tony Schiavone, I said, I think he has dementia. He can't remember anything. He sounds miserable. No, he just was so beat up psychologically because he loved wrestling so much. I didn't realize Tony Schiavone was such a big fan. He grew up a giant fan. He used to sit in the front row, and like, I didn't know any of this stuff. And now it's like, man, that's awesome. You know what I mean? And first thing I said to Conrad Thompson is, I shook his hand and I said, man, thanks for like helping these guys, like, You know, and he's like, oh, it's all I wanted to do, Bob. It's all I wanted to do is help these guys. And by the way, he made them $500,000 and he made himself $500,000. What's wrong with that?
Not a damn.
Right. Not a damn thing. Right. So let's look at that model and see what we can do. Let's lift some people up, and then we'll lift ourselves up in the process. That's kind of what I'm doing with this whole website gimmick. So, you know, it's community. It's a membership. We come in and we push each other, hold each other accountable. We got classes. We got all kinds of cool stuff in there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I got my, you know what you'd like too, Jay, is I got my little class in there. And if you play it and you hold the phone up, and you press play, it looks like I'm running your phone for you. And I show you exactly how I book a 4-day, 2,200 mile trip, going to 4 states, getting 3 bookings, and how to get back for work on time. Now you might have to take Monday, but you get back for work on Tuesday, right? So I have stuff like that. Give people real life examples, man. And if you go on my Wrestle Life Facebook site, I got 2 or 3 free classes on there. You can listen to more of my stuff. You don't have to buy anything. Go on there, and if you like it, sign up. And if you don't like it, that's fine. I'm sure there still should be some nuggets there that you can write down and give them to somebody else if you don't like it. And again, I'm giving people 50% off their first month. They want to jump in. It's use 50 OFF at checkout, and you get 50% off the first month. You can cancel anytime. No harm, no foul. But I think you're going to dig it because we're adding so much value to the stupid thing that it's going to be awesome. So it's awesome now. And I'm not even like 35% done yet. So, but if you get in now, it's a great time to get in, check everything out, go in, and you know, it's a great time to do it to get ready for breaking out of the pandemic too. Get yourself prepared.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's great. It's nice too that you mentioned, you know, the pandemic now that, you know, because a lot of independent promotions and even a lot of the bigger promotions have been like almost on hold essentially for an entire year. And now that slowly things are starting to come back in, you know, you're right, kind of try to get that jump ahead.
I got my first vaccination today, and my stupid assistant manager didn't tell me. I could have gotten it 2 weeks ago, but I got my first vaccination today. I was more than happy to do it. Went to Gillette Stadium, home of the Patriots, marched in, took 6 minutes, talked to a cute nurse, flirted with her for a minute. She poked me with a needle, and I left. That's it. Actually,
how'd your arm feel?
Oh, it hurts, but you sit there for 15 minutes and you get it, you know, so you don't fall over and anaphylactic shock, and then after that you're fine. You can go home.
Take 1 Tylenol, 2 Advil. It will help the pain. It will help kill the pain in your arm the next day.
Perfect. I will do that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then we you know, in 4 weeks I'll get another one, and I'll have my little card, and I'll start traveling and get the word out, because I'm still going to travel, still going to tour. That hasn't changed. And I hope I see you guys live so I can give you a hug and a kiss and wish you well. I do have to run just because my phone is dying, but I hope I answered both you. I hope I answered both you guys' questions.
This has actually been fantastic.
Good.
Thank you.
Happy to help.
Thank you
Jay,
so much.
When you're ready,
Bob.
Jay, when you're ready to go, no sales pitch, but when you're ready to go, hit me up. I have some ideas. So
definitely will. But thank you for coming on, Bob. Thank you everyone for watching.
WrestleLife.com. Check it out. 50% off your first month. I promise you. If you don't like it, I'll even give you your money back. But I'm telling you, you're going to love it. There's lots of cool stuff on there.
Bob, if you haven't already, send Jay the link, and we can we'll put it on our
I'm going to send you guys a link, and then I'm going to send you guys a special link too for my podcast people.
Oh,
absolutely.
awesome.
Thank you.
Cool.
Can't wait.
All right. But I do have to run because literally my phone's on like 2%.
All right.
No problem.
Thank you, Bob.
All right.
Thank you, Bob.
Love you guys.
Thank you.
God bless. I'll see you guys soon.
Take it easy.
All right. Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Oh, man, that was fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. That has been, See, Britt was worried that we were going to have to ask Bob a bunch of questions. I said, well, Bob's used to running seminars, so he could probably carry most of the conversation himself.
And he did, and I stayed awake, which if everyone, if you've ever watched our Dice Hard with a Vengeance, you guys all have a tendency to know that by this time it's officially
It's about
10:13.
lights out for Braid, unfortunately. So, but thank you guys for watching. We greatly appreciate your support. Once again, love to thank
Brutal Bob Evans.
Brutal Bob Evans, aka Uncle Bob, for coming on the show, for talking about the wrestlelife.com, for just talking wrestling in general. It has been a wonderful, wonderful experience. But as always, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe, hit the little subscribe button.
Tap that little bell.
Tap that little bell, the itty bitty little bell. Tap the bell so you never miss an upload. Thank you guys so much.
Why would you want to miss an upload?
Don't know why. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time.